It's been a while since I've given an update on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So here we have the area of Guliapole. So you can see down here in the bottom center, Guliapole. This map is from Calibrated. So Calibrated has the Russian forces pretty much maintaining the lines from last, I would say, the beginning of January. Now there was a Ukrainian counteroffensive, which many have commented on and have qualified as very successful. So there is quite a difference between the different mappers, and I'm not able to bring up the military summary map, so I'm not too sure what is the problem with that map. But anyway, that is a map which also recognized the Ukrainian counter-offensive successes, and so Calibrated is more on the line that the Ukrainians advanced in small groups and were basically mopped up by the Russians, and that their counteroffensive was somewhat successful, but much more costly to the Ukrainian forces and their resources. Now we have the Suryaki map, and this paints a completely different picture from the Calibrated map. So you can see there are, you can call them gray zones, as the Ukrainians tried to carry out several counteroffensives and to break through the lines of the Russians and then isolate them into different pockets and then eliminate those Russian forces. So you can see here above Guliapole, again the bottom center, they were heading towards, both were heading towards Uspinivka, and at Uspinivka they were going to create a clearing operation where they would be able to remove the Russian forces from that area. And you can see that they were somewhat successful from this map. You can also see another counteroffensive above Zalichne in the area of Rivne, and that pushed in quite extensively, although the Russians were still able to maintain a presence. So this was a winter counter-offensive from the Ukrainians. Apparently the Russians were, some were expecting the Russians to carry out a winter offensive. That it generally did not materialize except in the Sumy and Kharkiv areas. So here we saw that the Russians were on the defensive, and if we go to the deep state map, you can see that the Russians, you can see the gray area here and the red, which is the Russian, confirmed Russian presence. So you can see how much they had been pushed back from their earlier presence. So anyway, now we have ended the winter period. The mud is beginning to dry out and the roads are now starting to become more drivable. So many are now speaking about a Russian offensive to continue on what they were doing before, continuing on in the direction of Zaporizhzhia. So assuming that this counteroffensive was quite costly for the Ukrainians, both in manpower and in equipment, what was the purpose of this counteroffensive, and there it seems that their counteroffensive was more to slow down the Russians, to set them back, while they continue to build up the defensives around Zaporizhzhia. So this basically was to buy time for the defensive lines in Zaporizhzhia. And if we go, let's see now, we can zoom out a little bit and you can see Zaporizhzhia and the distance. Let's see now if we can get the so basically we're looking at, from this is the calibrated map, we're looking about maybe 50 kilometers to Zaporizhzhia from the Guliapole direction. Now from the, also we have in the Primorsk area, we have in the calibrated map, we have the Russians firmly established in the Primorsk area, and this basically puts them within, close to the Zaporizhzhia metropolitan area. Zaporizhzhia is a city of over 1 million, so this is a large area. Now in the other map, the Suryaki map, where do they have? They also have Russians in Primorsk, well established there, and in expanding their foothold, and of course their goal is first to take Orikhiv, which formed a kind of double defensive line with Guliapole. Guliapole fell, so now Orikhiv is left. Here's Guliapole, and here's Orikhiv. So these two cities kind of form the backbone of this defensive line, and there was a defensive line going above Guliapole. So anyway, Guliapole fell. Orikhiv is the key defensive city, so the Russians are slowly starting to put that city in a cauldron. Now, if you're with the deep state map and you're talking about the Russian presence in Primorsk, which is to the south of Zaporizhzhia, you can see that there is a gray zone in Primorsk, but the Russian presence is further to the south, and they have not made inroads to put Orikhiv in a cauldron. So this is of course a pro-Ukrainian map, and I only consult this for the gray area, which seems to be the indicator of where the Russians actually are. But anyway, now what are we expecting in the next few months? We are expecting for the Russians to turn up the heat in this direction and to restart their campaign in direction of Zaporizhzhia by the end of the year. I would imagine that they want to be in the outskirts of Zaporizhzhia and set up for a spring 2027 offensive to take the city, while the Ukrainians continue to expand their defensive network around the city of Zaporizhzhia. That could slow down the Russians still further. So for all of those who were hoping for a quick trip of the Russian forces towards Zaporizhzhia, the Ukrainian winter counteroffensive has set them back temporarily, and we will see now the restart of that offensive. It's hard to say at what speed and where they will go to try to find the easiest path forward and to begin creating various cauldrons. So anyway, that is my update on this Guliapole and Zaporizhzhia front. And if you have any questions, please put them below in the comment section. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. And I will be looking to forward to seeing you back in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.